What's the DJ?
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. So your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. Excuse me. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your midday market report for Wednesday, December 27, 2023. Blessed and honored to have Andrew step in for our last show of 2023. Tomorrow, goodness, got a frog here. God willing, we'll be with Anthony Pepe and Sports Map Radio live from Fenway Park for the Wasabi Bowl with Boston College and SMU. Shout out to WagerWire, our proud new sponsor and partnership. If you haven't downloaded the app, run over to Google Play or wherever you download the apps. It's free. Right in that top corner, you can see the logo. Start tracking your bets. You got a homework assignment. We got 4 days left in 2023. Download the app, start tracking your bets, keeping track of your ROI. Download all those sports books that is viable in your state. And let's have some fun here. Let's make some money. Let's actually profit. Let's do what we're supposed to be doing here. Instead of just saying at the end of the day, it's only entertainment. What's a couple $100? Well, if it's just a couple $100 and it's just entertainment, send me a GoFundMe. I'll enjoy it. Or Andrew. We'll be going off to the juniors somewhere. So anyways, enough for me. Let's bring in the star of this show, the one and only Mr. Andrew McInnis.
Great to be here, Jeff.
It's awesome. Merry Christmas. How was your Christmas, by the way?
Merry Christmas to you and yours and everybody else out there. Hope everybody had a great holiday. It was fun. You know, it was nice to see all kinds of family and friends, and still have some friends and family in town I've yet to see. So that's always great. But one thing it's missing is NHL hockey. We've got football on Christmas Eve and day and NBA, but the hockey players get a break, but not the World Junior hockey players. And you know, I'm deep into that research, and I love watching the prospect hockey. So that's been fun for me. How about yours?
Mine was good. The lead up, the build up. Once you get to Thanksgiving, you got the countdown, obviously, to Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and then, of course, the New Year. So it was great. My daughters came down from Boston for 4 days, 4 nights. We hosted Christmas morning and Christmas evening for breakfast and dinner. Saw my other relatives over the bridge on Christmas Eve. 4 generations, 53 people in all there. It was crazy. But we had a good time, so I can't complain. And, the no college basketball and the no NHL the last few days is kind of you-know-what. So we saw the slate. We saw the boatload of games. I saw your tweet, Canada minus almost a touchdown. As I like to say in my alerts, you minus 6 and a hook, so you need the touchdown and extra point for the cover.
Yeah, and they just scored again. They're up 8-0. So
they got the 2-point conversion.
They got the 2-point conversion. They didn't even kick it. They didn't even kick afterwards. So as long as Latvia doesn't score, then I think we're in good shape. The player props, whatever you're doing in these tournaments, it's funny. I think yesterday was a good learning lesson in the World Juniors. The amount of betting accounts, the amount of NHL accounts, hockey analysts, or whether it's just fans, Jeff, people will overreact in every sport, right? So America wins just 4-1 yesterday. The USA team has, the best team on paper in this tournament, but a win is a win. It's the same thing in football. Like, nobody cares about covers. Like, covers are only cool for sports bettors. You want to win in good fashion, but look at the Bills, right? Against the Chargers. Like, look at some of these teams, right? A win is a win. And so what I've noticed is a lot of times these teams in their first game, they're not covering these numbers as much or blowing teams out. And then in their second and third game, I think the dogs are barking a lot of times in the early games in this tournament. And then in the later rounds of the round robin, the favorites get going. And the big ice surface is also a big adjustment for some of these North American teams.
Pre-flop, the favorites, usually same cast of characters, Canada, US, Sweden. Was that it?
Yes. USA, depending on, it's funny, actually, depending on which book you're shopping at, you'll see a different favorite, which makes sense, I guess. Like, some of the ones in Ontario in the legal sports books in markets in Canada, I can't get those, but the prices are so different everywhere. Like, you would think the World Juniors, people are betting it, sure. I think more and more people are betting this every year, Jeff, because the odds are changing. The futures market is changing. Yesterday, I was on a Wager Talk show, released a play for -130. It closed at -235. Like, I don't think I've ever seen. Yeah, exactly. It's all me. But it was US, Canada, Sweden, Finland afterwards. But there have been some surprises, actually. And some of these bottom tier teams, they're just happy to be there. Let's be honest here. And there's a lot of prospects that are trying to make a name for themselves, right?
Well, that was my next question. Is there a new up-and-coming Connor Bedard?
Well, I think a lot of the U.S. team has a lot of prospects that have already been drafted. So they have a lot of experienced players or just players that have already, played. But I think his name is Celebrini, Mako Celebrini for Team Canada. They had him on the fourth line today. He's the projected #1 overall pick. Celebrini seems like the kind of guy that just sees the game very well. Very similar to Bedard, but he almost seems to be more of a playmaker. And with these younger players, they don't want to rush them into the World Juniors. They don't want to give them that key role. But it's almost like in one game, he's elevated himself from the fourth line up to the top line. And they're, mixing. They've had him on every single line. But Celebrini been that guy. And then you look at some of these other younger guys as well across the Swedish team that has all kinds of returning players. But the goaltender for Slovakia, he's been the big story. I don't know his name, and I'm not going to try and pronounce some of these European names. But I find the defense on teams like the European teams like Finland and Sweden and the goaltenders are where all the prospects are coming out. Like, if you look across the NHL even right now, think about how many European goaltenders there are. Like, the goaltenders are almost being dominated by the European market. But Ryan Leonard, Gabe Perreault, some of these guys for Team USA have just been unbelievable, and I think they'll continue to play very well. And I think that you look at BU, Boston College, Notre Dame, like a lot of these teams have a lot of great players. And let's not forget about Lane Hudson as well, the defenseman. He's getting some comparisons to Cale Makar. So those are obviously huge names to have. But last year, I told you the team to watch out for was Czech Republic. This year, I'm a little late to getting this out to everybody, but Slovakia, they are a team to watch out for. Slovakia have all kinds of prospects. They have 6 first and second round NHL player, picks, a great goaltender. Last year, they lost out to Team Canada in the quarterfinals. Their goaltender made 53 saves in that quarterfinal game. That was only a 1-goal loss, 4-3. So they were underdogs in both games so far, and they won 1-3-0 and won 6-2. So, they were underdogs. They were underdogs in their first one, And in their second one, they went from minus 130 to minus 230. So Slovakia is the team to watch out for. And, teams like Norway and Latvia are kind of the bottom feeders.
Now I could screw this up. You're the hockey expert here, not me. But didn't the Bruins star, isn't he over there as well? Is it Poitras or
Poitras? Yeah, Poitras.
Poitras.
Yeah. So I think that's cool that he was released. He's one of the better players on Team Canada, and I don't think he was able to play last year. So it's nice that the Bruins released him, and he's going to just get a lot of ice time, right? He's going to be the main guy on that team. I know a lot of Americans weren't happy that he went to I saw a lot of Bruins fans and Americans saying, well, that wouldn't have happened if the GM of the Bruins wasn't Canadian. But the thing is, it's all about, like, if you're going to go to the World Juniors, you might as well go if you're going to play a lot, right? He was getting minutes for the Bruins, but if you're going to be a key part, it only helps you build confidence, I think. So it's a good idea for him to go there. The tournament seems like it's going to be a lot more competitive. Sweden's the host team, and I really believe one thing I found out actually early this morning, the host team gets to set up the schedule, which is very, very interesting. So they get to decide who gets the back-to-backs. If they're playing a team that's really skilled, they want to set them up so that they're tired when they get to play them and situations like that. But for some reason, they actually didn't do it against Team Canada. Sweden actually plays tomorrow, and they play Canada on Friday. So I thought that was really weird, but the scheduling is very important in this tournament.
Well, we're usually talking playoffs, home ice, and who gets the last change. And now here we got tournaments where the home team's setting up the brackets.
Yeah, that's quite the advantage, though, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Before we dive into the huge slate, big following and watching. Thank you guys for ending the year with myself and Andrew here talking some bucks. Obviously, if you're not following Andrew, go over to McInnis Picks at Wager Talk. Check out all his work there. He's got video shows every day. So turn on the notifications. Don't be shy over there as well. Talked backstage, and this is usually during let's just say we're talking about Olympic break, or like last year an all-star break, where these teams and players get 2, 3, 4 days off, sometimes a week during some of those breaks. And we notice sometimes the offenses are a little sluggish to come back, and we're going to start diving into these games in a second. And of course, we're always going to talk team totals and under-overs as well. 4 days off here. Are you a little nervous, or are you expecting the offenses to just come back where they left off?
We didn't see it as much last year, but I do believe that players don't forget how to play offensively. They usually are a little bit slower defensively. It takes a second to get into that rhythm, to get back into that zone play that you're used to playing, and that intensity of the NHL level competition. Some of these players, they fly back to their hometowns for even a day or two, have that big dinner with their families, get to see some, younger, older siblings and some family members. And all of a sudden in 2 days, you're back to playing an NHL fast-paced game. I think it's the defense that gets affected. We might see more penalties, some more tripping, hooking type of calls. And if that happens, we lead to power plays and see goals that way. But one thing I look for, Jeff, actually, is the teams that were running hot, is that break a good thing for them? Teams that weren't playing very well, the break might be a good thing for them. So if you're playing really, really poorly, you almost needed a 3-day break, right? And it's not like it's a break in your schedule. Everybody got that break. And I look at a team like Carolina, who has slowly gotten some action and some steam today, but I like them tonight against Nashville because they have that little break. They haven't looked good. I think only 4 wins over their last 10, haven't gotten in rhythm. And Nashville, well, they've looked unbelievable. They have not even slowed down one bit since the start of the season. So do you agree with me on that, where some teams almost would rather decline the break because they're playing so well?
Oh, absolutely. There's some teams that were just dying to keep playing, and some desperately needed a break. We were talking, backstage, and some of the teams that I have put on the shelf that are just our kryptonite. If we had tomorrow's newspaper, we're having a hard time picking them up. Whether it is the New Jersey Devils, whether it is the Carolina Hurricanes, the Toronto Maple Leafs, it doesn't matter. If I take the Ottawa team total today, Toronto's going to come out 4-0. It's just the way it's not sharp and who was ready to come back.
And that's the thing about some of those teams. We all have our kryptonites. The Pittsburgh Penguins are always my kryptonite, I find. But that's the thing. And I look for away teams as well. As much as I do like a few home teams tonight, on a large scale, I do like to look towards the road teams. Business as usual. Get on the plane, right? You fly together, you go to the hotel, you set up. If you're at home, you're still in that holiday mode. And I feel like that's a big difference, for certain people. Think about people that, even for me today, I work from home clearly, but, getting up to my desk, doing the routine, you're kind of still in that holiday zone. Like, all right, we got to get back to work here. But people that work at a job where you have to leave your house, they're leaving town. They're back in the rhythm a lot quicker, right? And I just think that when I'm looking at these road teams, they're a lot more focused than some of the teams that are playing at home.
Huge slate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There are 14 games on the slate. I'm going to make this quick and painless, meaning I'm just throwing you the slate. I said in the intro and the description of the show, NHL expert, which you are, and we talk pucks, props, picks. Whatever you see, you can go right down the list. Whatever you lean in, thoughts, ideas, the board is yours, my friend.
All right. Well, I've got DraftKings up just to make it easy for people looking at some of these games here. That's you talk about two totals being 7. One of them is going to go under. One of them is going to go over, I think. And when I look at this Ottawa and Toronto game, and I look at the Columbus and New Jersey game, I actually think the Ottawa and Toronto game is the one that goes over, the 7 plus 100 to the over there. Ottawa seems to always get up for games against Toronto. It's the Battle of Ontario. I'd say that rivalry between Ottawa and Toronto has almost been a bigger deal lately than the Montreal-Toronto rivalry, even though I'd say Montreal's been more competitive. I like goals in that one. Toronto have goaltending issues. Joseph Woll was the answer for them, but he's gone down with an injury. So now they have Samsonov, who has not played well, and Marty Jones, who has not been playing very well. So Toronto got a win before the break, but it was against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Ottawa, we can all agree, they have not met expectations in the slightest. They've been using the word rebuild for the past 6-7 years. I like the over in that one. That to me is the one that flies over. And then I think I see a lower scoring win here for the New Jersey Devils. Last year, when I think back to what made this Devils team so successful, it wasn't just their offense. It was their defense. Their forwards bought into defensive hockey. The Devils have a good defensive team. They have run into a little bit of a goaltending issue here, but I trust this team out of the reset to get back to winning and playing tight checking hockey games. And, when I look at the Devils, they're a team to me that's a good parlay piece. I don't mention the P word very often, the parlay word, but with how big of a slate this is tonight, you can find your Vegas, you can find your Kings, you can find your Winnipeg Jets of the world, the Boston Bruins if you want. And you can parlay with these teams and try and find a certain opportunity with these NHL plays. I don't usually go any farther than a 2-teamer, as I've talked to you about before. Panthers and Lightning. I really like the Panthers in this one. And no, it's not because they're a road team, because it's still in the Sunshine State. They're not traveling far for this matchup. 6 straight games have gone under the total for the Florida Panthers. And when I look at their game, I just see a lot more depth. I see a goaltender with Bobrovsky playing very well. And I look at this Tampa Bay Lightning team, I actually believe they've overachieved this year. They haven't even done poorly. They haven't done great, but I think that in general, some of these games they've won, they've relied heavily on a handful of players. You know, my favorite thing in handicapping with most sports is depth. Tampa Bay lacks that right now. I think Florida has a lot more of it. I like this price. I think the tides are finally turning. I think the right team is favored in that one. I like Florida, and because I like them, I like their team total up and over 3.5. That's one of those team totals that I have circled there. I think that a lot of their wins, when they do win games, they do get to 4 goals. That one was at plus 110. It's gone down now to just even money at plus 100. But you and I always love those plus prices on them. I really like Carolina tonight. I mentioned it earlier. That's going to be just a straight up money line play for me. But I might put a little half bet on the team total because that actually has gotten up a little bit higher. So depending on what you're comfortable with out there, this is the thing. Carolina, I think, underachieving this year so far. Nashville, overachieving. But on a large scale, I don't see Nashville dropping off. But all those websites that I've been looking at, this season, whether it's Natural Stat Trick, Money Puck, some of these RotoWire analytical stuff I'm looking at, they're all telling me that Nashville, all these goals they're creating, they're unsustainable. They can't keep doing this. And UC Saros has been great for them. They've been the picture perfect team, but sometimes it just can't be sustained if you're ranked number 22, number 24 in this category, number 26 in this category. Meanwhile, the Carolina Hurricanes are ranked top 10 to 15 in most categories, but they're not playing their brand of hockey. I like Carolina to get it done. And the last one I'll mention, Calgary Flames. I mentioned I like road teams a lot. They are a home team. The Calgary Flames, I'm seeing some positive quotes. I like the little break they had, a couple days. They're not even having a terrible season so far, but they're not having a great one. They're hovering around that 500 mark. They've lost a lot of games actually in overtime, but when their best players haven't even been their best players yet and they're not playing horribly, I feel like the only way they can go is up. They've got a good goaltender. I like their defensive core, despite the fact they traded away Zadorov. Plus 110 current price right now, over 3.5 team total for the Calgary Flames. Like that one quite a bit. Seattle, to me, lacks depth, and their goaltending has really been bailing them out, keeping them in games. If they get even an average performance out of Joey Decord, I think Calgary gets at least 4 goals tonight.
I like where your eyes are everywhere. I'm looking at Wager Talk right now, some of the team totals as well. And as you said, we like the plus money. The Florida team total at Heritage right now, you can get plus 110 over 3.5. I think this, we talked backstage, to potentially the trap of the day. But if you like the Bruins tonight, people, instead of laying the lumber minus 145 or 155 at DraftKings, you can get them to get to 4 or better at plus 105 there. You talked about the Hurricanes team total, 3.5 over plus 125 at Nashville. I want to ask you this one. I think this one's a sneaky one. Dallas at St. Louis, and Dallas overnight number minus 152 with a 6.5. Currently 155 at Circa, 166 at DraftKings, still with a 6.5. You know my thoughts. We're not laying that kind of price. We're not going to do the minus 1.5 and have to get the empty netter, and we're not going to do regulation. But for them to get to 4 or better, I only have to lay 15 cents. If you like Dallas, do you like the team total to get to 4 or better minus 115 tonight?
I do. I like that one. I think it's a great call. And you look at the St. Louis Blues numbers right now. I actually like the full game over in this one, Jeff. That's kind of was my initial lean. So, of course, I do like the St. Louis Blues because that's the side that I think could win it. When you look at the December scale here for this Blues team, of course, they fire Craig Berube. What's gotten better for them recently? Well, it's their offense. Their defensive numbers over the last few games still aren't there. They're still giving up a bunch of chances. They're still leaving guys open. They're still giving up all kinds of 2-on-1 breakaways. It's their offense that's gotten better. And Binnington's still playing, average if at best, not really making any great saves. I think it's a good look. And this Dallas team, they're scoring goals. They're a team that used to be do you remember 3 years ago where Dallas, every win they had was 3-1? They were a dominant under team and they were a good one. Yeah. But now I think they're a good, and that's what we look for, right? These plus monies with the team totals. Not always. We don't have to, Winnipeg could easily get 4 goals on Chicago tonight. And, they're minus 130 or even higher than that for their team total. But I like that number there. And I guess my question is, if we expect them to get to 4, I worry about the Dallas angle. They've played so much differently offensively since they fired their coach. I always vent to you about this, how different teams are with their new coaches. It's almost like there's a bunch of new players out there. I almost would be disappointed in myself if I played the Dallas team total, and if St. Louis gets a goal or 2 in the first period, you're thinking to yourself, why didn't I just play the full game over? Right. But no, I like that price though. I like it.
I get that thought process. And Dallas had that stretch a couple of weeks ago where it was the first one to 5 or 6 won the game. That defensive team was, no, we're going to outscore you 6-5, 7-6. They were letting up goals like a slot machine at the Bellagio. I mean, that light was lit every 2 seconds. So I like where your eyes are there. Speaking of coaches fired not too long ago, the Wild facing off against Detroit. Every time I see the Red Wings now, I think of Patrick Kane. But the Wild have been real good to us. I can get them to get to 4 tonight, plus 105. And the overnight number, minus 147. Money is coming in on Patrick Kane and the Red Wings down to 134. You can get them at plus 123. Under over, Andrew, of 6.5. Is this 3-3 overtime, first one to 4? Is the Red Wings a live dog, or am I getting too cute to try to grab the Wild to get to 4 tonight?
I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't blame you if you did. That's the thing about this Minnesota Wild team. They're obviously the better side out of those two right now. The Wild went through a slump. They were an over team. They were playing well themselves. Then they started giving up a bunch of goals. Fire their coach. They're back all of a sudden. Kaprizov's playing very well. The only thing that worries me is that, first of all, isn't this kind of a fishy number? Look at these two teams. Look at how Minnesota's been playing. Look at how Detroit's playing. You're getting plus 120 here with the Wings. I just think that the books, as well as a lot of people, it's one of those ones where, are you betting on the Detroit you've seen or the Detroit you think will play? And if you're betting on the Detroit or against the team that you've seen, you want to bet against them. If you want to bet on the team that you think they should be, you want to bet on this team. Do you know what I mean? So I have a tough time with this one because, I think the look would be full game over. James Reimer has had his runs in the NHL, but to be without not just your number 1, but your number 1 and number 2 goaltender in Detroit is really tough on them. And they're dealing with some defensive issues right now as well. I think I'd play the full game over instead of getting into one team. I do think Detroit will give you some, but I don't trust their defense. I know we like to pick apart and isolate one team, and I understand that, especially with these 6.5s. A lot of times they end 4-2, or if we're lucky, 4-3 or 5-2. But I think both teams contribute to this game.
All right. And you talked about Calgary already tonight. Their overnight number, minus 145. Right now it's circa minus 140, 148. At DraftKings, flat 6. I'm not going to dive too much into that. You talked about that. So I guess where I was going is you got 2 late night scratch. How do I scratch the itch, Andrew? San Jose travels to the Kings. The overnight number was minus 360 with a flat 6. And then Vegas travels to the Ducks. Overnight number, Vegas minus 220. Now still 220 at circa. 238 at DraftKings. If you wanted to play either one of the team totals, you can't play the Kings. Their team totals 3.5 over, minus 155. you can lay 25 cents on Vegas to get to 4 or better. That might be the lean there. But do you see anything in either of those two games for the late night scratch your rich, whatever you want to do?
One thing I've really been looking at, especially with a team like Los Angeles, when you've got a team that is like a minus 250 or higher favorite and the total is 6.5, I'm looking to bet the under, because a lot of times it's like a 4-1, 4-2, 3-0. And a team like Los Angeles, as much as they can score, they don't really look to blow teams out. And what I mean by that is, sure, if it's working and they're playing well, they will put up 5 or 6 on you. But the way that they grind out games, the way that they back check, the way that they play tight against the boards, they are completely comfortable going up 3-0 on San Jose, locking things down in the second period, scoring 1 in the third, allowing 1, and winning that game 4-1. It takes a lot to get to 7 goals in the NHL. It takes 2 teams to tango as well. And I just don't see LA being the team to say, you know what, San Jose, out of this break, we're going to be kind to you and give you a few. One thing I love about LA is that they don't really take any team lightly. And this is from a Montreal Canadiens fan. LA shut down the Canadiens twice, one time in Los Angeles and one time in Montreal. When they play lesser opponents, they really shut them down. So I wouldn't worry about a team total or a puck line or regulation or anything. I would just take the under 6.5, because unless you get 2 or 3 from San Jose, I think this one flies under.
Before we wrap this up, is there any props out there that you see today?
I haven't looked at the props yet. I'll be honest with you. It's a big board.
Okay.
I haven't taken a look at it. For the LA Kings, though, one guy I have been betting quite a bit, Trevor Moore, over the 2.5 shots on goal. They have not adjusted things for him whatsoever. So that's something that I probably would take into account. And then one that I had my eye on, but I still haven't seen the number pop up, would be Joey Decord, his save prop, which I know it sounds funny to say because I'm on Calgary, but I think he's going to just get absolutely peppered. Like, I think that we're going to see Calgary shoot the puck a lot more, play a lot more simple. And then looking at the Devils, I like looking at their defensive props, excuse me. So looking at Luke Hughes to get a point, it's at plus 110. Remember, I've said to you a bunch of times, like, these defensemen, they just don't adjust their numbers very much. Like, he's out there on the power play with his brother Jack. Like, he's out there being an offensive defenseman on the fast breaks or the breakaways. He's always getting up there. I like the guys the defensemen that jump into the rush. Like, obviously everybody can't be Cale Makars, but when you have someone like him that's at plus 110 to get a point, and especially with hockey, he passes it to one forward, the forward passes it to somebody else, and they score. Well, he ends up with a point, a secondary assist. So those are two off the top of my head that I had in mind for today.
We've had a bazillion people watching. If you guys are not following us, turn on your notifications. Obviously, myself at Twitter at EC Sports Invest, Andrew at McInnis Picks. You grab all his work on Wager Talk. And if you got an extra second, jump on over to YouTube, subscribe to East Coast Sports Investors. It's free on YouTube. And while you're over there, head on over to Mayflower Sports and subscribe for Andrew as well. But as always, as we wrap this up, Andrew, tell everyone what you got at Wager Talk for people looking to potentially invest for the rest of 2023, and then obviously what you got going forward for 2024.
So we do have a rest of the NFL special going on, rest of the NFL season. So if you're interested in that, I'm on a pretty good run in the NFL, and that includes sides, totals, and props. So we're doing it all over there in the NFL. So you can check that out over at Wager Talk. But really, I just want to encourage people to follow me on Twitter. If you're watching on video right now, at McInnis Picks. If you're listening on audio, at MCINNIS Picks. I'm tweeting out all kinds of World Junior plays. Canada's up 10-0 now. So I think that's like 3 in a row for the World Junior picks. We got it done with the Sweden. We got it done with Slovakia, which I tweeted out late at night. And I'm actually going to have one that I really liked tomorrow that I'll be texting my good pal Jeff with later on tonight. So looking forward to cashing some tickets. And guys, please hit the like button on this video.
Can't thank you enough. Our last show of 2023. Next week, we'll be back in the saddle where we'll be here on Tuesdays on my channel and Thursday on your channel. So thank you, Andrew. Be safe, obviously. Enjoy the new year. Keep crushing the World Juniors and doing what you do. It's always a pleasure, obviously, to have you here.
Thank you so much, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. From myself, Jeff Dawson at Easy Sports Invest, the one, the only, Mr. Andrew McInnis at McInnis Picks and Wager Talk. We wish everyone a blessed evening. Have some fun. Cash some tickets. Couple more days left in 2023, and then we'll bring in the new year in 2024. See you soon.